Hey guys, Greg Chapelski the Music Nut here, and I probably look a little homeless since the last time you've seen me, but it's not what I'm here to talk about. Today I want to talk about the recent death of Linkin Park frontman Chester Bennington. Now, I realize this happened a while back at this point, but I still want to touch upon it because I feel like the recent suicide of Chester gives us an insight into celebrity mental health, but more specifically how we treat celebrity mental health. Before I discuss this any further though, I first want to get something out of the way. I personally was never a huge fan of Linkin Park or the other projects that he was involved with, such as Stone Temple Pilots or Dead by Sunrise. I could appreciate and respect the things that he did, but I never really delved too deep into his music. Nonetheless, this doesn't change the fact that his music was a huge part of my childhood. Songs like In the End, Numb, and Breaking the Habit were pretty much a soundtrack of my elementary school years, since these songs got so much radio play back then. But what a lot of people need to realize is Chester was not Linkin Park the band. Chester was Chester Bennington, the human. Yet, when I was looking across social media days after Chester's suicide, specifically Facebook, I saw so many posts about Linkin Park. I saw posts about how influential Meteora and Hybrid Theory were in the nu metal and alternative genres. I saw top 10 Linkin Park listings. I saw so much information on Linkin Park, but so little on Chester Bennington specifically. And yet, none of this is breaking news. Linkin Park didn't suddenly become a mainstream band after Chester's death, and Meteora and Hybrid Theory were influential for at least 15 years now. I know I sound a little salty, and I'm sorry for that. I know that people post these things to show their appreciation for what Chester did as an artist, to acknowledge the achievements he made during his lifetime, and to acknowledge the significance and impact of some of the things that he was involved with. But when a celebrity commits suicide, a lot of people seem to forget that these celebrities are still human, and thus they continue to treat them like artists even after their death. Chester was somebody that was bullied as a kid, stating in an interview that he was knocked around like a rag doll at school for being skinny and looking different. Chester was somebody whose parents divorced at a very early age. Chester was somebody that suffered from sexual abuse from an older male when he was only 7 years old, and this abuse apparently continued until he was 13, because he was apparently too scared to ask for help as he didn't want anyone to think he was gay or lying. Chester is somebody that understandably found himself in such a position where he was abusing marijuana, alcohol, opium, cocaine, meth, and LSD. These are all details about Chester the human, not Chester the artist, and the reason I state them is because they humanize Chester Bennington, and they hopefully help us to remember that, although he may have been a hugely successful artist, he still dealt with very real human emotions and suffering. It just so happens that music and lyricism was a coping mechanism for Chester, and it evidently became a way for him to deal with the negative emotional energy he experienced throughout his life. Sure, he was rich and famous, but if anybody honestly thinks that fame and wealth can solve issues of depression, anxiety, or anything else that affects our well-being, well, that's simply not the case. I myself suffer from anxieties and pretty bad depression on occasion, and I know deep down inside that even if I found everything I was looking for in life, success, wealth, love, I would still continue to have gray days for one reason or another. Chester Bennington is now another addition to the unfortunate ever-growing list of celebrities who have taken their lives. And going online and praising these celebrities for the accomplishments and achievements they made over the course of their careers does present us as caring and respectable people online, but it doesn't do anything to help us understand why these celebrities actually feel the need to take their lives in the first place. When dealing with the topic of celebrities and their mental health, I think one thing that everybody should keep in mind is that the life of a celebrity is easily accessible. I can go on Google and in 15 minutes find out where Chester Bennington was born, where he went to school, who his parents are. And the problem with having an easily accessible life is that you're placed under everybody's magnifying glass. Celebrities become much more vulnerable, and thus they're more prone to being attacked based on the decisions they've made or the things that they've done. As an example, how many people have shit on Aaron Carter in the past few months based on his appearance, even though he's so obviously going through hard times? People have such an easy time shitting on celebrities when they're alive, and yet once they're dead, we all suddenly start praising them for the achievements and accomplishments they've made, even though we were just shitting on them a few months back. This is no different with Chester Bennington. Linkin Park had literally just released their new album One More Light only 2 months before Chester's death, and old school Linkin Park fans were criticizing that album pretty hard. And I mean, like it or hate it, the lyricism on One More Light was evidently very personal and meaningful to Chester. And for the album as a whole to be criticized so harshly by so many people probably felt like a personal attack on some level for the guy. Instead of waiting until somebody is dead to show our appreciation for the things that they've done, why don't we do it while they're still alive? Instead of hating on celebrities for some of the dumbest reasons, what if we took that same amount of time and energy and instead used it to appreciate some of the positive things that they've done? I know it's cliche, but if you don't have anything nice to say, why say anything at all? I know it probably sounds like I'm going off topic here, but I'm honestly not. It's no secret that Linkin Park was sort of a joke to some people, and that's probably because of their notoriety as a nu metal band. And let's be real here, nu metal bands get laughed at and judged a lot. I'm not saying these judgments are warranted, but they exist nonetheless. Consider bands like Korn, Evanescence, Limp Bizkit, Slipknot, Papa Roach, the list goes on and on. Now, for those of you that don't know anything about nu metal, this is a subgenre that takes elements of heavy metal and combines it with elements of hip-hop, alternative, funk, etc. Now, I'm all for mixing genres and trying new things in music, but nu metal has a reputation for mixing genres to such an extreme that it sometimes results in a sort of cringy product. A nu metal band is the kind of band that isn't metal enough to gain much respect from metal elitists, and it's also not hip-hop enough to gain much respect from hip-hop communities. So nu metal is left in this weird sort of gray area of music. It turns into a sort of guilty pleasure genre, or a genre with a very, very specific fan base. Unfortunately for Linkin Park, they were sort of at the forefront of the nu metal movement in the 90s, and for this reason became a highly influential nu metal band. And since they've been classified as a nu metal band, they've gotten bullied a lot over the years for being different, and for lack of a better term, being the weird kid at school, basically. This, to me, made Chester Bennington's suicide hit harder than other recent suicides, such as Chris Cornell's. While Linkin Park was adored by many, they were also hated and teased a lot for what they did, and when I heard about Chester's suicide, I didn't have to be a huge fan of the band or anything to feel something there. It's sort of like hearing about a kid from school that just has to put up with so much shit over the years that he just decides to end it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Chester Bennington's haters are what made him end his life. It's just really sad to see someone who's obviously struggling with depression have to put up with all this hate over the years. You know what, depression or not, it's sad to see hate directed at anybody for any reason. Judging by interviews I've watched, Chester seemed like a really cool and down-to-earth guy. He was always open and honest about his personal experiences, and that's something that can't be said about every celebrity, so I can definitely respect him for that. Now, I realize this video was sort of scrambled and all over the place, but if you were to take anything from it, I guess let it be this. Celebrities are humans too, and in an age where technological communication is so prominent, it's easy to judge somebody without even a sliver of remorse. And while depression likely plays the most prominent role in somebody's decision to commit suicide, we as decent human beings don't need to contribute to someone's hopelessness by shitting on them across the internet for not really any good reasons. Let's do our part and maybe love each other a little more, shall we? Whatever Chester's reasoning was when he took his life, nobody can ever be fully sure. But one thing is sure, Linkin Park will never be the same without Chester, and the world will forever be missing the unique, talented, and honest artist that he was. With all that said, I hope Chester is able to rest in peace, and who knows, maybe at this moment he's rocking out with all the other music greats who have passed on. So what are your thoughts on celebrity mental health, and the way we, as an audience, treat celebrity mental health? Feel free to share your viewpoints on this topic below, and while you're down there, why not share something you loved about Chester? No, not Chester Bennington the artist, Chester Bennington the human. Anyway, if you found this video interesting or enlightening in any way, feel free to subscribe right there for future uploads, and of course, hit that like button. Got a bunch of links to my social down there if you want to follow me on any of that, and if you click up there, you can check out my last video, a review of the self-titled debut album by 21 Pilots, so check that out. With all that said, I'm Greg Chapelski the Music Nut, and me and my ugly ass hair will see you guys next time.